Welcome to Feedback Friday. In these videos we look at somebody swimming, an average swimmer, going about their normal stroke, and we see what they can do to swim faster. Now, we haven't done these videos for a while, but we are back into it now. And if you do enjoy these videos, please hit the subscribe button, as we're going to start doing these back on a weekly basis every Friday. Now, the swimmer that we've got is a 35-year-old triathlete named Bertrand, and he's a former runner from Belgium. He said he's been swimming for 2 years. He started off around 2:20 to 2 minutes 30 per 100. Now he's quite comfortable swimming around 1 minute 50, mostly thanks to your videos. For short distances, it comes particularly easy on his first warm-up 100. But he says on his longer swims, his form starts to break down, and he usually ends up around 2 minute pace per 100. He said the pools were closed for 8 weeks. This is his third swim back after they've opened again, and his goal would be to reach a cruising pace of 1:45 per 100. And he's registered for his first full Ironman swim in July. So he's focused mostly on longer distance. So let's take a look at his video and see what we can uncover in his stroke that can help him get down to that pace. And this is certainly achievable. We have a lot of swimmers that come to clinics and that I coach online with our stroke analysis coaching that are able to do this on a regular basis. So it's certainly achievable. And so what I'm going to show you here is the things that I look at when I'm analyzing someone's stroke. Now, the first thing that I often look at is the breathing. How are they exhaling and how are they breathing? Now, the exhalation is good. It's coming primarily from the nose. But the thing that sort of stands out to me here is the the head takes a little bit too long to turn to the side. So when we're looking here, you'll notice that he's entered his right hand here. Now he's reaching forwards out in front. The head's still down. And he finally turns his head to the side, gets the breath, head's out of the water, still going, and he gets it back in now. But by the time his head is back down into the water, this arm is already past his shoulder, or it's already below his shoulder. So he's taking a little bit too long to turn his head to the side, get the breath and come back. So the first thing that I would probably look to do here is just turn the head a little bit sooner so you can get the breath quicker and return it quicker. Now, the reason for that is the breathing can really be one of the main factors that leads to a lot of other faults. When someone's swimming with a snorkel on, typically their stroke is a lot better than if they have the snorkel off and they're having to breathe. So because he's taking so long to turn his head to the side and then return it back into the water, he has a lot less control over what that arm does through the catch. Doesn't mean he can't have a great catch if he has a delayed breath, but it's going to make it a lot easier to do. So first of all, as that hand's reaching forwards, turn the head to the side, bring it back a bit sooner, around about now, and then he'll be able to get the head down a little bit earlier. So you'll see from the above water shot as well that if we're looking at this, the head also lifts up a little bit. He's probably looking up a bit too high. That's the angle that he's roughly looking at. We like to aim straight to the side. Now, it's okay to have a little bit of a lift of the head, but primarily with your vision, look more to the side, because if your head has to turn that far, it will rotate the shoulders further. And when the shoulders rotate further, what often happens there is that the hand that is in front, so we don't get a breath there, I'll show you in this next shot. So the hand that's in front, as he's turning to breathe, again, he's got much less control over it. And we often see that this hand will just press straight down, lifting him up, but not really moving him forwards very well. That's what happens when you over-rotate through the shoulders. So first thing would be just adjusting when he turns his head to breathe. Now, the other thing that I'm looking at from the front here is that with his rotation, he's just over-rotating through the shoulders a little bit. So from here, you'll notice that as the hand enters, he reaches forwards, he's on his side there. If we look at that furthest point of rotation, it's not too far off where we want to be, but he's just going a little bit far. He's around a bit over 50 degrees. Normally, the maximum is about 45 that we want to see through the shoulders. I like to see 35 to 45 degrees rotation. And particularly on this side here, going too far on the side again, it's even a little bit more. So that angle with his shoulders with the water, 58 degrees. If he can bring that back a little bit, it's going to help him through his catch, and it will also help him increase his stroke rate. So if you are rolling side to side, you're going almost to 90 degrees, it's going to take you a lot longer to get back onto the other side. And your speed in swimming is a combination of the distance that you travel with each stroke and the rate at which you take those strokes. And so if he's rotating another 15 degrees from where 15 to 20 degrees from where he should be, it's going to take longer to get back. So we just want to sort of bring that rotation back a little bit. So that would be the second thing, reduce the rotation. Now, kind of along with that a little bit, so this kind of goes hand in hand, is I just look to change how he's entering and extending forwards. So if we have a look at the hand in front here, he enters fingertips first. All right, that's a good position. Now, if you look at the trajectory of it, the angle that it's going in at, it's quite steep. It's quite an angle that he's entering at there. And when he finishes reaching forwards here, you'll notice that the fingertips are about 15 centimeters below the underarm. When you finish reaching forwards, we usually want to aim for underarm depth. So we should see the fingertips about here and the rest of the arm there. We aim for this fingertips below wrist, wrist below elbow position. Now he's got that, but a bit deep. And from this position, that oncoming water is going to hit the top of his arm. It's going to increase his drag, which is going to slow him down. So the most streamlined, the most efficient position he could get to there is if his hand was up a little bit higher than that when he finishes reaching forwards. Plus, it's going to give him another 15 centimeters or so of room to set up the catch. Whereas from here, he ends up just starting down a little bit deep. So it just doesn't have quite as much time to set up a good catch. Now on the right hand, so what we'd look to do there is enter. He can enter where he is, but smooth out that path of the hand as he's reaching forwards and gets that better depth. Now on the right hand side, good. Fingers are a little spread here. Now you'll see that there's quite a bit of air that gets trapped on his hands and on his fingers and his hand and his wrist because it's quite far apart. Close that up, reduce the drag, and he'll get this smoother entry and transition into the water. Now it doesn't look like much from here, but all this stuff adds up, so it's worthwhile just closing that up a little bit with his fingers upon entry. Now when he's entering and extending forwards here, I'd be aiming to just stretch out a bit more. You'll notice that he comes in and those fingertips drift upwards there. So the position where he finishes reaching forwards is about there with the fingers higher than the wrist, higher than the elbow. And so that oncoming water is going to hit underneath the arm this time. So the position that we'd aim for is this. And he'd probably just want to lengthen that out a bit too. So I think because of that deeper entry, because that one's kind of drifting up, we're just seeing the shoulders roll a little bit too far side to side. So they're the first couple of things that we'd look for. Now another factor to reducing drag, and if we think of the drag, it's really the first thing that we want to do is reduce it because water's obviously much denser than air. And so even just a little bit of extra surface area that's facing in the direction that we're going, it's going to really add up. And one thing that you might notice with the kick here is that the toes are primarily pointed down. So through the majority of it, toes pointed down to the bottom of the pool, and it's just increasing the drag. Now, if you're doing triathlon, you're obviously running a lot and you're probably cycling a lot, and that can reduce the range that you've got through your feet in terms of pointing your toes. But I've worked with a lot of swimmers, particularly our stroke analysis members online, and we've worked on just getting the toes pointing a little bit more, and it's made a big difference. We see their hips come up, we see their legs come up when they start to do it. Now, still keep your feet loose. We don't want to be pointing them and be really stiff and getting cramps or anything like that, but I would say it's possible for him to point his toes a bit more because it doesn't look like much extra surface area that's facing that oncoming water, but it really adds up. Now, if you think of you got a kickboard, you're holding it normally and you're kicking, it's easy to do. As soon as you turn that kickboard to face against that oncoming water, it is hard work. And it's only this much extra surface area, but it really adds up. So that's why we just want to probably point the toes that little bit more. Now, the other one that I'd probably just tweak slightly, and I know we're going through quite a few things here, but I just want to sort of point everything out that we can see, is with the head position, he could even tweak this a little bit. Now, because he's doing triathlons, he's probably going to want to look slightly forwards. Now, it doesn't mean looking way out in front, right out in front there at the wall, but it does mean probably we want to generally try and keep the top of the head just above the surface of the water. And because he's doing triathlon in the race, he's going to be wanting to have some awareness around what's in front of him. And if you're looking too far down, as you can kind of see here, you're not going to have much awareness of it. So what I'll generally encourage triathletes to do, or open water swimmers, is look slightly forwards. Up to 45 degrees is the range you can generally look to. So by looking slightly forwards, better awareness when he's racing, but he'll probably find that his posture will improve as well. Because if you duck your head down too deep, then it tends to round the shoulders a little bit. And with rounded shoulders, it protracts your scapula, your shoulder blade. It brings it in a position where it's harder to use your lats and be strong through your back and through your shoulders. So we want this good sort of chest forward posture, keep the neck long, but if we duck the head too low, it tends to round the shoulders. So there are these subtle differences that are sometimes hard to spot here, but having gone through 4,000 or 5,000 different swimmers, these are the little things that we start to notice. And I think by just tweaking that slightly, by looking slightly further forwards, that could certainly help. Now, after going through those couple of things, we'd probably then want to focus on the catch. And if you've seen these videos before, you know the catch is a big focus. It's really that 20% of the stroke that can make 80% of the difference. But I'd probably want to get those other things right first, because that's going to give them good fundamentals, much better body position, much better control and stability and balance in the stroke, to then be able to make the most out of the catch. Now, if we look at the catch from here, you'll see here, pretty good position to start in. What we then want to do is get the fingertips and the forearm just tending to point down, to drop downwards, so that we start to get the hand and forearm a little bit more vertical in the water, so that can press back in that direction to help him move forwards. Now you'll see as we go through it, not too bad, not too bad. So not a bad position in terms of that angle. It's sort of facing down in that direction. We can definitely improve it. And if we look at the end of the catch, which I'd consider to be here, so when we think of the catch, it's this movement from here down to there. Now, at the end of the catch, if we draw a line from his shoulder to his fingertips, you'll see that elbow is kind of just below that straight line. Now, when that's the case, we consider that a slightly dropped elbow catch. And if we can get it in a high elbow position, which is anywhere above that straight line, so let's draw another line. All right, so if his arm was somewhere like that, the elbow would be above it, and that would be considered to be a high elbow catch. And that just means the forearm and hand is facing back behind him more. So we'd want to go through a couple of drills that will help him do that. Same on the left side, slightly dropped elbow catch. Now, particularly if you're wearing a wetsuit, you're doing triathlon, wetsuit's going to take care of a lot of the body position, a lot of the tautness through the body, and will often control your rotation a bit. So it'd be worthwhile focusing a lot of attention on the catch, and then obviously building swim strength and swim fitness. Now, the drills that we use at clinics are the YMCA drills that we developed a couple of years ago, and you'll find those in the core principle number 4 on our inside our membership, which is the catch and pull module. And the YMCA drills basically go through the 4 key positions that we want to have in the catch and the pull, the 4 positions that I've seen all really good freestylers move through. So he may look to do something like that. He may look to do the doggy scoop drills that we've also got. And there's a range of other catch and pull drills that you can use there. And they're all inside of core principle number 4 inside of our membership. Now, when he's looking to improve this, there's a couple of concepts that I've found to be very useful to think of with your catch and pull. So number 1 is think of your catch as the setup phase. So we don't need to overpower the front end of the stroke. Yes, we don't want to go completely limp with it, but use it to get into a good position. You don't need to generate a lot of power right here, because that's only going to create lift. It's not going to help move you forwards. So just use that as the setup phase, number 1. And we also want to break it down using some drills, because if you're just swimming along and you're trying to improve your catch without actually sort of practicing or learning that skill in a simpler way, very slim chance that you improve it. Now, we do see like elite swimmers or age group swimmers where they're training 8-9 times a week, they're able to kind of do that. But without the use of drills, it's very difficult to do. So what we often prescribe at clinics and when I'm coaching people is in your warm-up, do a couple of drills that are specific to those things that you want to change and improve, and do 200 to 400 meters of some drill swim of it. That's going to set you up well for the session. Then you can take that into the main set, and you can generally maintain that better stroke for at least some of that main set. And if you do that every single session, you'll really start to notice a difference. And we've been doing these follow-up filmings. So when someone comes to a clinic, they can then come do a follow-up filming, and we go, all right, this is what it looked like at the clinic. This is what it looks like 2 or 3 months later. And we've had some pretty outstanding results from that, because I think people, they know what they need to do. They know the drills that will help them. They're following that process, and we're really seeing a big change, particularly in their catch, which is really good to see, because obviously it makes such a difference. So that is often how I'd recommend making these changes. But pick 1 or 2 things at a time. Don't try and do it all. And it might take you 2 weeks, 3 weeks to just improve and change 1 or 2 of those things, then move on to the next one. So follow this sort of order that I've gone through, and then just progressively build up the stroke. So thank you to Bertrand for sending in his video. And if you want to send your own video for Feedback Friday, go to our website and go to the contact form, and you can email us a link to your video, and we might choose it for one of our Feedback Fridays. And if you'd like to work with me, we run clinics around Australia. We're in Sydney, we're in Melbourne, Brisbane, occasionally Perth and Adelaide as well. And we also have the stroke analysis coaching. So if you can have access to an underwater camera, you can record yourself swimming, send me videos every week or 2, and then we'll just continually improve your stroke. And same thing, we've had people go from 230 pace all the way down to 140, 135 pace over the course of 1 to 2 years. And that is the best way to really improve your stroke if you've got access to an underwater camera. So thanks again for watching. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, and I'll be back next week with another Feedback Friday.